Hi everyone, I'm Gwen, the Swedish vegan chef. I'm here today to share with you one of my favorite recipes. It's a kind of Middle Eastern type dish or Moroccan type dish. I'm going to be making eggplant and sauteed vegetables as well as a side of herb and nut couscous. The things that you're going to need to prepare this, I decided to go with a brown rice couscous that I found at Whole Foods tonight. It's organic and non-GMO and also gluten-free. I have a sensitivity to gluten, so I try not to eat too much wheat and bread type products. Couscous is in the pasta family, so it would be considered a wheat and gluten food. So we're going to give this brown rice couscous a try. The things that you're going to need to prepare this dinner is one large or medium-sized eggplant, preferable organic. You're going to also need some things that I prepared here. I've cut up, this is about 1.5 tomatoes. You could go for 2. We also have here, this is stuff that I pre-cut. This is half a red onion as well as a whole red pepper. You could also use roasted red peppers if you prefer a different flavor. This, in the bowl here, is a mixture that I've created. It is chopped almonds, raisins, and basil, fresh basil. That again is chopped almonds, raisins, and fresh basil. This is going to go in the couscous. I also went to the liberty of cutting up some vegetables to make for a sauteed vegetable side dish to go with the main dish. It's just carrots, asparagus, and zucchini. Those are my favorites, so that's what I chose to use. I also have here, this is the eggplant. I went ahead and pre-prepared the eggplant for the way it needs to be cooked. What I do with it is I cut it up into small pieces and completely cover it with water that has salt added to it. The effect of soaking the eggplant in a salt water mix is it makes it sweeter. Even though that sounds strange because it's salt, the salt takes the bitterness out of the eggplant. I don't know if you guys have ever had the experience of eating eggplant and feeling like your throat is itchy or it's a little bit too tangy. This removes all of that, so the eggplant tastes really sweet and nice, and it's a much more enjoyable thing to eat. So I put this in a pot. I let it soak for about an hour. You'll see that it starts to turn a little bit brown. You don't want it to get really brown, but you'll see the water turns a little brown and the eggplant starts to turn color a little bit, or the green edges. So I'm just going to strain that out so that all that salt water comes out. You could even rinse it so that your eggplant's not salty, because you're not trying to get it salty. You just want it to soak off the excess flavor from the bitterness. I'm actually going to rinse it a couple of times. Alright, so there we go. Your eggplant is ready to go. So you can see the size of the pieces that I cut up. That's about what you want. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to make is the couscous, because it takes about 15 to 20 minutes to cook the brown rice couscous. Regular couscous usually cooks instantly. You just boil some water and you add it. So basically what we need for this, the box for this particular brand calls for 2 cups of water. It's usually 1 to 1, so there's probably about 2 cups of couscous in the box. So let's pour that into this pot and get it going. The heat's on. So while that is cooking, I'm going to show you, or while that's boiling, I'm going to go with some liquid aminos for our salty flavor to add to our dishes. I'm also going to use some extra virgin olive oil. And one of the key ingredients in the eggplant dish that I like to use that makes it a little bit unique is cinnamon. So you're going to have those things. You can also use salt, pepper, whatever you feel is to your taste. This is just what I like to use. So the first thing we're going to do is take this red pepper and red onion mix and add it to your pot. Next thing you're going to do is take some olive oil and coat that whole mixture. You don't need too much, maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons. So turn that on. You can put it on a high or medium-high heat, and that'll cook it just the way you need it to cook. You're gonna let the onions and the peppers saute in the pan so that they soften up and the flavors start to come out. As far as the vegetables go, if you have a frying pan, I usually don't like Teflon, but for a non-stick type dish, sometimes it works. Just take your vegetables, pour them into the pan. You can use a bigger pan if you want, but this works just as fine. So you see, I just pour the vegetables in there, and if you watch what I'm going to do, I'm not going to steam them. I'm not going to, broil them or do any of that. I'm just going to take a tiny bit of olive oil, just enough to coat them so they don't stick. Swish it around a little bit. And then what I'm going to do that I don't know if a lot of people know this, but with vegetables, when you steam or boil them, you actually make them lose a lot of their nutrition. So the best thing to do is just to put them in a pan like this. These vegetables all cook at about the same rate, so that's why I put them in there like this. But you just want to put them on the stove at a low heat. You could cover it with a lid so that the steam from the vegetables naturally cooks them, but try to avoid steaming and boiling vegetables because that's how you lose the vitamins. You really just want to lightly cook them and let the steam from the vegetable cook itself. So that way you get all the vitamins and nutrition and you don't overcook them and ultimately kill the vegetables. All right, so go ahead and put that on the back burner. My onions and peppers are coming along. You can see, just kind of like stir them around in there, let them cook. The water is starting to boil. Once you see your onions and peppers are starting to become softer and ready to add the eggplant, which is this part, what we're gonna do is we're gonna end up adding the tomatoes and the eggplant after that, and kind of letting it all soften. I'm gonna go ahead and add the eggplant right now. I'm going to add the tomatoes, the chopped tomatoes. And by the way, this is, to your taste. I've also used canned tomatoes in recipes like this before, and roasted red peppers. It gives it a little bit different flavor when you use those ingredients. Lately, I'm more inclined to using just fresh ingredients so that I'm not using stuff out of a can or stuff that's, been sitting on a shelf for a while. So I added all that to the pot. Gonna stir it up. The water is boiling for our couscous already, so that should be ready in a minute. I'm actually gonna add a little bit of water to this mix as well to help the eggplant cook. So just add maybe a 1/4 cup of water to that mix to help it cook. This side the water is boiling, so I'm gonna take the box of couscous, which this one comes with seasoning, which is really nice. I hope it's a tasty couscous. It says that it needs to cook for about 10 to 15 minutes. Like I said, if you use traditional couscous, it cooks instantly. You just add it to the water and put a lid on it. So I'm going to throw that in there. It's got a spice packet, which is, I guess, a herb spice packet. So we're just going to throw that in there too. Okay, mix it up. Turn it on a low heat and cover it with a lid. Yeah, this one says saucepan, tight-fitting lid, reduced to the lowest setting. So low setting on that. Right. And then the eggplant is coming along. I like to cook it on high because eggplant does take a little while to cook, so you might as well put it on high. You have the option of adding other spices that you might like to the eggplant, such as you know, garlic or whatever you feel is good. So let's see. I'm gonna turn those vegetables on in the back. Let those start cooking. Once again, the vegetables, you can cook them just at a low temperature, and if you want to put a lid over it to help the steam come in, that'll make it move along faster. If you want to do it without a lid, that'll work too. So for now, that's what we have. Okay, so our eggplant has been cooking for a little while now. This dish in general is going to take about 20-30 minutes to prepare. So it's been cooking for a little bit now. I just want you to see how it looks. You can see that the eggplant is starting to separate. It's starting to become more like a sauce as the tomatoes and eggplant cook. If you feel like it's too thick and heavy or it's too dry, just add a little bit of water. As the eggplant is cooking, I have it on a medium heat right now. You just have to keep an eye on it to see what consistency you want it to be at. Do you want it to be really thick? Do you want it to be like more saucy? I went ahead and added some cinnamon. It sounds strange, but it tastes delicious. It's actually like a Persian style cinnamon in the eggplant. So I just went ahead and added about a teaspoon of cinnamon to the eggplant. I already did that. And then I also went ahead and added some liquid aminos to that mix and the vegetables. So you get kind of a nice, it's not really soy sauce. It doesn't taste like soy sauce. It just gives it, you know, a little bit of salt, but not salt. It's amino acids. It gives it some flavor, so it's not bland. And it's really delicious. This is still going. This is going to be about another 5 minutes. So in about 5 minutes, when that's finished, it's going to be standing. You need to let the couscous stand for about 5 minutes so that it'll fluff up. When it's done, we're going to add this mixture. Once again, this is avocado, almonds, raisins, and fresh basil. You could also go and add other things in here. You could do pine nuts. You could do macadamia nuts. You could do mint leaves. You could do any number of herbs and nuts and raisins to your mix to make it really tasty. It's a very common thing, especially with Moroccan dishes, is to add raisins and nuts. Indian people also do that, which is really good. It gives it an extra kick of health benefit. So, yeah, okay. Another thing I wanted to add is that as the eggplant is cooking, it's very important to keep stirring it so that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. Another thing I like to do, it's optional, depends on if you want it chunky or saucy. I like it a little more on the saucy side, just a little bit chunky, is as you're stirring it, you can mash it a little bit. Not too much, but just break the eggplant down from being whole big chunks into being more like just the inside of the eggplant with the skins removed. It'll really easily separate and do what I'm describing as it cooks. And if you feel like it's not, you can, like I said, you can add a little bit more water. You don't want to go overboard with the water because then it'll just be soupy. But yeah, that's something that you can do, and that makes it the right texture. Also, keep an eye on your vegetables. At this point, the vegetables should pretty much be done. They only take about 10 minutes to cook properly. So I'm going to turn my vegetables off because they're about done right now. You don't want to overcook them. So those are done, and the couscous is just about done. In about 2 minutes, I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to let it stand with this. Actually, we'll go ahead and add it right now. 2 minutes is not that much time. So I'm going to go ahead, add this to the mixture. Raisins and nuts taste really good after they've been cooked just slightly with this type of dish. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that in. Yeah, this really needs to get turned off. It's already overcooking. I'm going to just add that in there. I think that this is going to taste really good, actually. I'm going to go ahead. I love to add this to a lot of my dishes. It's very healthy and adds a really nice flavor. It's just organic virgin coconut oil. You can find this at Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, pretty much any health food store. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of that to here, about a teaspoon. It looks a little dry, so it's going to add a little coconut oil to give it a little flavor, take the dryness away. Hear it cooking on the bottom. This actually looks delicious. I'm really glad we tried this brown rice. So I'm just going to cover that back up and let the eggplant keep cooking. Oh, once again, you don't want it to stick to the bottom. You got to keep stirring it and add a little bit more water. The eggplant should take a little bit longer to cook than the rest. You don't want to eat undercooked eggplant. It's not a very pleasant texture or flavor if it's undercooked. Also, keep an eye on your vegetables. At this point, the vegetables should pretty much be done. They only take about 10 minutes to cook properly. So I'm going to turn my vegetables off because they're about done right now. You don't want to overcook them. So those are done, and the couscous is just about done. In about 2 minutes, I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to let it stand with this. Actually, we'll go ahead and add it right now. 2 minutes is not that much time. So I'm going to go ahead, add this to the mixture. Raisins and nuts taste really good after they've been cooked just slightly with this type of dish. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that in. Yeah, this really needs to get turned off. It's already overcooking. I'm going to just add that in there. I think that this is going to taste really good, actually. I'm going to go ahead. I love to add this to a lot of my dishes. It's very healthy and adds a really nice flavor. It's just organic virgin coconut oil. You can find this at Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, pretty much any health food store. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of that to here, about a teaspoon. It looks a little dry, so it's going to add a little coconut oil to give it a little flavor, take the dryness away. Hear it cooking on the bottom. This actually looks delicious. I'm really glad we tried this brown rice. So I'm just going to cover that back up and let the eggplant keep cooking. Oh, once again, you don't want it to stick to the bottom. You got to keep stirring it and add a little bit more water. The eggplant should take a little bit longer to cook than the rest. You don't want to eat undercooked eggplant. It's not a very pleasant texture or flavor if it's undercooked. Okay, so after your eggplant has been thoroughly cooked, this could take, depending on how you want the texture, anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. And you know, you could cook it at, you could keep it cooking at a low temperature to mix the flavors more and make it more saucy. But once it's completed and the couscous is done standing, your end result looks a little bit like this. Moroccans, Middle Eastern people generally serve dishes like this. They put the couscous in the middle, surround it by your vegetables, and then top it with the, you know, the stewed or roasted part, which would be the eggplant in this case. I decided to put some pieces of basil on the top as a garnish. You could also put, you know, some kind of nice homemade bread if you like to eat bread. I'm not a big bread eater. I do Ezekiel bread sometimes, but not in the mood for it tonight. So this is what it's going to look like. That's your end result. It's really delicious. I took a bite already, and I'm really proud of this healthy, delicious meal. And I hope it's something that all of you enjoyed and you can make at home easily too. Alright guys, thank you. Till next time, I'll see you again.